please request you to mute yourselves so that we can have maximum benefit of Prabhuji. Prabhuji, will you be leading host rights? Will you be presenting something? Prabhuji, you are muted. Prabhuji, you are muted.
So I'll be only speaking, so I don't need any sharing rights.
Okay, fine.
You connected?
Part Prabhuji, can you please mute yourself? Everybody, can you please mute yourself? Because I can't mute you from here if you are doing it from yours. Rachna Mataji, mute yourself. Haridas Prabhuji, please mute yourself. And Avni Mehta, kindly mute yourself.
Hare Krishna. So,
Prabhuji, the floor is yours. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuru Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nira Vishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshtarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Kirtika Mataji, very happy to really get this opportunity to serve the congregation that you have been so wonderfully nurturing and guiding. As I understand from your sister in Mumbai, she gave me a brief understanding about what services you are doing for this wonderful devotees, and very happy that I get the chance to speak to all of you. So today's discussion is again, I mean, it's first of all, it's a very wonderful thing that you all are studying the Bhagavad Gita systematically every day, right?
Yes, Prabhuji, and we have two mentors with us, and they are here today. One is Path Premadas, whom you can see on video, and Mansi Ganga Mataji. They both are from, Mansi Ganga Mataji is from Nairobi, Path Prabhuji from Kisumu, but luckily they are locked down here to our advantage, so we are making the best of them. So we try to get whatever we can from them during the week, and they are very instrumental in our service here in Eldoret.
Wonderful. So of course, you know, I've been to many places in the world in the service of Prabhupada, but yet I've been to South Africa, but not been to North Africa and West Africa. So I've not been to that part of the world yet. But yes, happy to really serve you virtually. I think that's what this future is all about. You know, serving everybody virtually. I doubt whether we could be able to travel in the near future to various places. So you know, I think without taking much time, we would just like to read this very beautiful verse from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, which is entitled Karma Yoga. And we are taking the sixth text, as you said, Mataji, right? The sixth text.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So Karmendriya samyaya ya aste manasa smaran indriyarthan vimudatma mithyachara sa uchyate. Translation: one who restrains the senses of action but whose mind dwells on sense objects certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. There are many pretenders who refuse to work in Krishna consciousness but make a show of meditation while actually dwelling within the mind upon sense enjoyment. Such pretenders may also speak on dry philosophy in order to bluff sophisticated followers. But according to this verse, these are the greatest cheaters. For sense enjoyment, one can act in any capacity of social order. But if one follows the rules and regulations of his particular status, he can make gradual progress in purifying his existence. But he who makes a show of being a yogi, while actually searching for the objects of sense gratification, must be called the greatest cheater, even though he sometimes speaks of philosophy. His knowledge has no value because the effects of such a sinful man's knowledge are taken away by the illusory energy of the Lord. Such a pretender's mind is always impure, and therefore his show of yogic meditation has no value whatsoever. I will take text 7 as well. Translation. On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by the mind and begins karma yoga in Krishna consciousness without attachment, he is far superior. In purport, instead of becoming a pseudo transcendentalist for the sake of wanton living and sense enjoyment, it is far better to remain in one's own business and execute the purpose of life, which is to get free from the material bondage, enter into the kingdom of God. The prime Swarthagati or goal of self-interest is to reach Vishnu. The whole institution of Varna and Ashram is designed to help us reach this goal of life. A householder can also reach this destination by regulated service in Krishna consciousness. For self-realization, one can live a controlled life as prescribed in the Shastras and continue carrying out his business without attachment, and in that way make progress. A sincere person who follows this method is far better situated than the false pretender who adopts show bottle spiritualism to cheat the innocent people. A sincere sweeper in the street is far better than the charlatan meditator who meditates only for the sake of making a living. Hare Krishna. So the reason I took both the purpose is because I think it's beautifully explained by Krishna that what you should be and what you should not be. Just the first purport would not be complete, because in the first purport, Krishna is telling Arjuna of what you should not be. And he says that you should not be a pretender, or what we call mithyachari. Now, we all, if I ask you a question, that the one thing that we just can't tolerate, the one thing that we feel very, very disturbed by is when somebody pretends to be something that they are not. Can there be some silence, please? I think there's somebody speaking in the background.
Everybody is muted, Prabhuji, except you and me.
Can you hear some sound? I don't know.
Yes, I can hear, but I don't know where it is coming from because everybody is muted.
Okay, I think let's get it. So the one thing that none of us can tolerate, what to speak of Krishna, is pretense, is to be something that you are not. And and if you analyze it very, very properly, why do people pretend? Why should we pretend? For example, a student who has not really studied very well, but when he goes to the exam hall, he may or she may act as if she has studied very well, just so that people do not know what is the reality. So pretense is basically used to cover the reality, because the reality is shameful. We don't like the reality. See, why should we pretend if we like what we are? Am I right? If you like what you are, why should you pretend? Because you are happy with what you are. So pretense is something which you want to show the world what you are not. Now, for a person who is not necessarily engaged in any spiritual practices, he is not engaged in any sort of religiosity. He doesn't have the need for what is called sense gratification or sense control. I mean, he has a need for sense gratification, and there's no need for sense control because there's no concept of sense control. Why should I control my senses? I will do whatever I want. Why should I control my senses? But moment we take to the path of spirituality, there is the do's and do nots. It's explained that before you take to spirituality, you at least have to come to the human platform, right? Right? I mean, before you even talk about being a devotee, you need to be first a human being. And for somebody to be a human being, he has to, he has to uh, follow principles which suit the behavior of a human being. Uh, and and that is why, as practitioners of spirituality, there is always going to be things that we can do and things that we cannot do. You agree? You all are practicing spirituality in some or the other, right? Many of you are practicing for a couple of years. Many of you are just beginning to practice. Many of you are trying to understand that. But as basic students of spirituality, you all know that we cannot live our life the way we think. That okay, I want to do this, but there's some restrictions. As human beings, there's some restrictions. So as being part of on the path of bhakti cult or bhakti path, there are obviously certain restrictions. There's things that we cannot do. But many times we are not in a position to say no to those things because the force of senses is so strong that we succumb to them, right? How many of us have experienced that we do not want to do something, but we succumb to it because we are not able to say no to it, right? So many times we understand that there's something which we can't do. We succumb to it, right? We take a resolution that, oh, I'm not going to get angry with my wife, or I'm not going to get angry with my children. We take a sort of a resolution. But in a particular scenario where a particular situation is created, you automatically give in to that lower mode of anger. And you say, oh my God, what did I do? But you already given in. You already got angry. You already felt that I should have not done it, but you cannot control it, right? So there's something what is called, the vega, or the speed or the intensity of the senses. But sometimes as a sadhaka, we are not able to control that vega or the senses, and we give in to it. So when we give in to it, we feel that why did I give in to it? We feel little sorry about it. We feel that, well, I don't have that sense control. But many a times we try to cover that by posing to the world outside something that the world wants us to be. I'm getting my point. We all are trying to draw a picture of ourselves to the world. We all want the world to know us in a particular way. So for example, if you want yourself to be known something and you're not on that level, then the two ways to really reach, for example, if you need to be here in regards to your sense control, in regards to your being a spiritual practitioner, you need to be behaving at this level. But the reality is, my dear friends, that you find yourself, because you cannot be hiding things from yourself, you realize that I'm actually at this level. There's a delta, there's a particular gap between what I want to be and what I am. My dear friends, how many of you find that there's always going to be a gap of where you want to be and where you are? Yes or no? Say yes, say if you agree to me. Yes, there's always a gap, right? It's always that you want to be here. Oh, I wish I am here. Whether it is your professional life, or it is your studies for students, or it is just your managerial skills, or your spiritual goals, or whatever it is. You want to be here, but you find yourself short. You find yourself here. Now, a true practitioner will be very honest. You say, you know what, I need to be here. Yes, I need to be here, but I'm actually here. But I will work hard to slowly reach this level. That's an honest practitioner. When I say a practitioner, I don't necessarily only mean an honest practitioner of spirituality. I mean, in this example, I'm talking about any practitioner. For example, if you are a student, if you need to be here as far as your studies are concerned, you are here. Then an honest student will say, okay, I know I'm here. I will study hard, study more hard, study and reach this level. But a person who's trying to find a shortcut, and we all love shortcuts. And we all want to really see how we can make things easy, right? Then, if you find yourself here, I mean, you want to be here, you find yourself here, then you start behaving to the world outside as if you are here, when actually you are here. You actually behave that you are here. And when you behave, you are faking it. You fake it. And the sad part is, when you fake it many times, the sad thing is that you start faking to yourself. You start believing that you are here, but actually you are here, but you actually, as we say, a lie spoken many times become a truth, right? We heard that statement. A lie spoken many times becomes the truth. Similarly, a lie spoken to yourself. No, I'm here because I'm behaving here. I want the world to know that I'm here. I don't want the world to know that I'm here and there's a gap. We want to show ourselves something that we are not. And in a small way, I've seen so many times children doing that. That they need to be here, but they act as if they are there. In a larger sense, as adults, we also try to pretend. We also try to be something that we are not. And the sad part is, we all start living a very false life. This whole idea of living beyond your means, this whole culture of credit card. What is a credit card? I mean, if I'm sure all of us are intelligent people here. If every person who had a credit card paid their amount on time, that means if you on credit, you say you buy something for $1,000 and you're supposed to pay it in a month's time, you pay the $1,000 before the 1 month. Do you think your credit card company is going to make any money from that? No, they don't make any money. They don't make any money. The only way they make money is when people default in their payments. So do you think the credit card companies are like charitable people who want to give people help and, okay, you take money, please buy what you like to buy. We are so munificent, we are so compassionate, please. No, they're into business. Yeah. And they want people to live beyond their means. They start living a false life. They know that they can't afford it at a point of time. He said, don't worry, here is a credit card, just swipe it and you get it. That means, what are we living? We're living a false life. We can afford something, but we actually buy something much more. False life. Pretend in life. People buy fancy cars. They can't afford the car. But they buy a fancy car because they want to really show to the society, they want to show to the world something that they are not. Yes or no? And that becomes so much of a habit that people start living much beyond their means. And that also gets extrapolated to spiritual practices. And that's what Krishna is saying this. That even in the spiritual practices, we try to show something that we are not. We need to be honest. We need to be truthful. We need to be simple. And one of our acharyas in ISKCON, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, he was asked, what is simplicity? He says, simplicity means no duplicity. So he describes simplicity as no duplicity. Duplicity means that you are trying to be something which you are not. So what Krishna is telling Arjuna, my dear friends, is this instruction of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is so very useful. If we become proper students of the Bhagavad Gita, not only we will be becoming wonderful devotees of Krishna, but we'll actually be living a very happy, contented, balanced material life as well. We'll be happy people. This Gita is not just a spiritual book. It is a way of living. Krishna is so beautifully explaining to Arjuna, and Prabhupada's purports are so beautifully explaining to us how do we live in this material world? So being a mithyachari, being a pretender is of no value. So it's better to be what you are. Better to really tell the world what you are, but be humble, rather than pretend to be something which you are not and be proud of it. Are you getting my point? Better to be something which you are and be humble, because you feel that yes, I should be here, but I am here, and you feel bad about it, and you feel humble, and you feel the need to really work hard, rather than pretend to be something which you are not, and you feel proud about it in due course. But it's all false. It's all inflated. It has no value. It has no substance. It's going to be blown off. One prick of material energy, everything is finished. Right? It's a pretense. So let us not live a pretense life. Majority of the people, my dear friends, why do we live our life? If you ask people, go deeper into their, ask people more deeply, they said that most of the people, 99% of the people live their life not for themselves, they live their life for others. Everything they do is what others will think about me. Their whole life is spent just figuring it out how I can impress others. Believe me, it's a fact. Majority, 99% would be living like that. Because their whole life is meant to what people think about me. It's just driven by false pleasure which we derive from others glorifying us. We don't feel very happy when we have something, but we feel much more happy when others say that we have something. Yes, if you buy a nice fancy mobile phone, okay, you feel happy. But the more people tell you, oh wow, you have got a Samsung S20, wonderful. The more people tell you, you feel, oh wow, so many people are telling me, you feel more happy. Yes or no? Yes, you all agree? Our happiness should not be driven by what people tell us, but our happiness should be something which is intrinsic, that we feel happy from within. We don't need to be knowing from without what people tell us. If our life is driven by what people are telling about us, then be sure you're heading to live a pretense, a false, a hollow life. But if you are just happy with what you have, and I'm going to tell you a very beautiful story to really convey this point. A very famous story, but hearing this story from the perspective of the discussion that we are having on this aspect of pretense and the reality. It is a story from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The story of two best friends. Any guesses, kids? Who are the two best friends? Who is Krishna's best friend? Anybody? Yes, Diya Shah.
Arjun.
Sorry?
Arjun.
Arjun. Okay, that's right. Any other friend's name?
Sudama.
Sudama.
Sudama. Yes. Yes. Krishna had many friends.
Madhumangal.
Madhumangal, Sudama, Krishna, Madhumangal, Arjun. Yes.
Stoka.
Sorry?
Stoka.
Stoka Krishna. His full name is Stoka
Hmm.
Krishna. Not only Stoka. Okay?
Draupadi.
Yeah. So please mute yourself again. So we are going to be discussing about Krishna's very special friend of the name Sudama. Sudama and Krishna, they were classmates. They were studying in the same Gurukul of Sandipani Muni, which is in modern day in Ujjain in India. So that place is still there, the same place where Krishna and Sudama were studying 5,000 years ago. It's still there in India, in Ujjain. When you come to India, please visit. We have a beautiful ISKCON temple there also. So this is a place of Ujjain, which is called Avantika at that point of time. and they were studying in the ashram of Sandipani Muni. They became very close friends. I mean, it's a beautiful story. It can take a couple of hours. So we are just going to be a little fast forwarding it. Krishna went on to become Dwarkadish. He went to become the king of Dwarka. And Sudama, who was a Brahmana, he was staying in a place called Porbandar in Gujarat. A very, 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 very poor, materially ordinary Brahmana. But very, very having high self-esteem. Didn't want to live a false life. He was happy with the little things that he had, satisfied, but didn't want to really pretend to really want something which is higher. He was just happy with what you are, and he was very, very humble, very, very, extremely poor. His cloth had more patches than the actual cloth. That's how poor he was. His wife's sari had more patches in the sari than the actual sari. And he had children. Very poor. Destiny had just had made a destiny somehow. He had tremendous poverty. So after many years, his wife told Sudama, Sudama ji, your friend, you talk about your friend all the time, your friend Krishna, who is Dwarkadish. He's the king. He's having 16,108 palaces. He's so wealthy. Don't you feel that you should go and ask for some help from him? But Sudama had such high, I use the word, very important word, which we all need to have, such high self-esteem, such high satisfaction and happiness in what he had, even though he had very little. See, if you have little, if you're not happy with that, even if you have the whole world, you'll never be happy. This is the statement spoken by Vaman Dev to Bali Maharaj. Vaman Dev came to get all the three steps of land, and Bali's, he came as a dwarf, and Bali Maharaj said, okay, please, my dear dwarf Brahmana, what do you want? He said, I just want 3 steps of land. And Bali Maharaj said, oh, what are you talking? I'm a king. I can give you a whole kingdom. You are so foolish. Please ask something. I said, no, I'm happy. I said, if you are not happy with the little things that you have, then you will never be happy even if you have the whole world. Very interesting. So Sudama was very, very happy with what he had, but his wife, and for his wife's sake, for his children's sake, he said, okay, at last he got convinced that he will go to meet Krishna and ask for some help, because he was extremely poor. Sudama decided that he will leave Porbandar, which is in Gujarat right now, to go to Dwarka, which again is Gujarat. It's a long distance. So he said, I'll go and meet him. So the next morning he was leaving. And then Sudama said, well, I cannot go to meet my friend empty-handed. I need to carry something. Do you have something to give him? And he said, we are so poor, we have nothing. He said, please, is there anything? Just check it out. And the wife said, well, all that we have right now is this flat rice, which is a couple of days old, what we call poha. Chipped rice or flat rice. You all eat poha, right? So that's all. It is dry. That's all we have. I said, okay, give it to me. So she tied into a small bag, and he was carrying the bag, and he walked. And all through he was walking, he was remembering the wonderful time he spent with Krishna. Please understand, he was seeing Krishna not as God, but he was seeing Krishna as his friend, because there's a relationship he had with Krishna as a friend. So when he finally reached the palace, it's a long story, but somehow they gave him entrance. And Krishna from far, he saw Sudama coming. He didn't recognize him, but he knew there was a Brahmana. And Krishna's beautiful, the way we address Krishna is Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Hitaya Jagaditaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. The Krishna is addressed as Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya. He is the well-wisher of cows, Go Brahmanya Hitaya, and the Brahmanas. He loves the cows and the Brahmanas. Go Brahmanya Hitaya Jagat Hitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So when he went there and he received, I said, who are you? I can see you are a Brahmana. Krishna was a king. Please understand, he was sitting in the palace, but he came out. That is the etiquette. As a king, you come out to really respect a Brahmana, and Krishna did that etiquette. He followed the etiquette. He came to meet, and Sudama said, "Oh Krishna, I am sure you don't recognize me, but I'm the same Sudama, your friend. And you remember the time that we spent in our Guru's ashram?" So of course. And Krishna was so very happy to really see Sudama. And it took him by his hands. And Sudama, because he had traveled a significant long distance, and he was tired, and was naturally emaciated, very thin because of poverty. His clothes were completely rags. So the people in the palace were wondering, who is this? That Krishna is just touching him and giving him so much respect. And Krishna personally put Sudama on his throne. And Krishna's own Patrani, wife, Rukmini, the goddess of fortune, was doing chamara to Sudama. And Krishna washed Sudama's feet. And then he said, "Oh, my dear friend, what brings you here?" They were discussing, and Sudama, every day they would discuss about the times in the Guru's ashram. And then Sudama was thinking that now in the next one day I should leave now. But he said, "I have not still asked anything to Krishna." Please understand, again, this thing aspect comes of self-esteem. People who have self-esteem, they don't feel like asking anything. They say, "No, how can I ask something?" It's so difficult for these people to ask because they have such high moral values and such high self-esteem. So Sudama couldn't ask. But Krishna, he is the super soul sitting in everyone's heart. Sitting in your heart, sitting in my heart, sitting in everyone's heart. And he knew that there was a purpose where Sudama had come. So he asked Sudama. And while he was leaving, I said, "Sudama, you have come, you have spent so much time. Didn't you get any gift for me?" And Sudama, what he had hidden that chip, he felt so very, so very insignificant to give that chip prize to Krishna, because here Krishna is Dwarkadish. His whole palace was just filled with gold and emeralds and jewels and silk and everything around that. I said, "What will my chip prize be of value to Krishna?" So then Krishna said, "Have you got something for me? I'm sure you have got something from me. Your wife would have packed something for me. Please give it to me." And then he was just searching and he found this packet, a small, potli, as we call, which was tied with a cloth. And he snatched it and he opened it up and he saw, "Wow, there's chip rice." Obviously, it is not very high quality, quite old. Krishna took a morsel and he put it in his mouth and he felt very, very satisfied. He was about to take a second morsel, and Rukmini, his wife, said, "Oh Lord, you already satisfied, and whatever mercy that Sudama needed is already been achieved by your once tasting this chip rice. You don't need to eat again." And Krishna said, "Oh Sudama, I'm so satisfied, so pleased by what you have given me. Please ask something." He said, Sudama said, "No, I don't need anything. I don't need anything." Sudama was not living a pretentious life. He was living a very honest life. So even though he was poor, he was happy. And people are living a pretentious life, and even though because they are rich, they are frustrated people. They are people who commit suicides. They are the people who have legal wars with each other. Apparent wealth, but frustrated people. Why? Because they are living a very pretentious life. There's no substance in their life. They are not happy with what they have. It is not satisfying their soul. Sudama was living a very, very honest life. And he said, "No, I don't need anything." He couldn't ask. Can you imagine? I mean, for you, you go for a purpose and you don't ask that purpose because of high moral values, high dignity, high level of self-esteem. He couldn't ask. He didn't ask anything. And then he left. Krishna gave him a beautiful farewell. He gave him a hug. And then Sudama was leaving. As he was walking, he said, "Oh my God, what do I tell my family now?" And I went to ask something from Krishna. I spent 7 days with Krishna. But here I am. I'm coming completely empty-handed. But he said, "No. But still I feel very happy." because I did what I really need to do. I don't need to ask anything to anybody. Let me be happy with what I have. That's Krishna telling in the second verse. Just to be happy with what you are, if you execute your Krishna consciousness. That means if you're a doctor, be a doctor. You don't need to give up your medical profession. If you're a chartered accountant, continue to be a chartered accountant. People have a wrong understanding of spirituality. They feel that if I do spirituality, that means I have to give up things. No. You don't have to give up doing things which are your occupational duties. You can continue occupational duties, but just Krishna-ize it. Just add the Krishna factor to it. Just make the ultimate beneficiary Krishna. Offer all your results of your occupation, of all your hard work, or the studies, or whatever you are doing to Krishna. That is the perfection of your work. So Krishna is saying that you don't have to change. That's written in Arjun, your duty is to fight. You are a fighter. You need to fight. You cannot give up your fight and become a sannyasi and go to the forest. You need to do your karma. Karmane vadikaraste ma phale sukadachana ma karma phale turgu madhya sangostu karmani. You have the right to perform your karma. That verse will further, as you are further going to read the Gita. You are right to perform your karma, but obviously you don't have the right over the fruits. So that is, of course, the secondary part. But Krishna says you have to perform your karma. Krishna says to the extent that even I perform karma. I am God, but even when I come to the material world, I perform duty. So Sudama was living a very, very, he was like ideal Brahmana. A Brahmana is just happy. Patan, yajana, yajana. A actual Brahmana lives his life by just begging. And there are people in the society who would give to a Brahmana because Brahmana gives knowledge. And you cannot accept knowledge without really giving something in return. So Brahmana gives knowledge and people give whatever the Brahmana needs to survive. And that is how the whole Brahmana community would survive in the past. They would never be working. Of course, now the whole society is all completely hodgepodge. You know, we could be born in a Brahmin family, but we are not. So it is not necessarily by birth, it is by karma. Right? So it's all hodgepodge. Now you cannot really say, oh, well, I'm a Brahmana, so now I'll be just giving knowledge, you give me money. Nobody will give you money. Nobody's going to pay you for that. But Sudama was living a proper life of a Brahmana. He was just happy with whatever get, and he would get very meager, but he was happy. But he would give knowledge to people. He couldn't ask anything to Krishna. But as I said, Krishna is in everyone's heart. Krishna knew what he needed. So when he came near to his house, his wife and children came running, and they were dressed in very ornate, opulent clothing. And somebody sent a message. So they had a beautiful ornate clothing, and Sudama said, "Oh, where did you get all these things from? Who gave you this?" I said, "Well, it's your friend who gave it. You went to Krishna, right? And you see our house." And Sudama came to his house, and his old, beaten up hut where he was staying was transferred to a beautiful palatial building. There were servants, and there were opulent clothing that the family got. Krishna gave them everything. There's a beautiful verse in the Gita. Yoga Kshema Vaham Yaham. That Krishna carries what you have and supplies what you lack when you surrender to Krishna. Very interesting words. Please understand this, what it means. Krishna carries what you have and supplies what you lack when you surrender to Krishna. So Krishna just supplied everything that Sudama lacked. And he still carried his self-worth. He didn't allow him to really lose his self-worth. The Krishna he knows that this for this Brahmana, his self-worth is so very precious. So he said he didn't allow him to lose his self-worth. So he carried, but at the same time, he knew that this Brahmana is lacking. He needs some material opulence. He needs to have at least some basic comfort living. So Krishna gave him what he lacked. And that is what Krishna, or God, that we are trying to worship, or we are worshipping. A person who carries what you have and supplies what you lack. And my dear friends, there's so many things that we lack, and Krishna is ready to supply that, provided you are completely surrendered to Krishna, provided you are living a life which is Krishna centric. It's not that, oh, okay, now I need something, let me become a devotee of Krishna, and Krishna now suppose I give. Only when you surrender to Krishna completely, that Krishna carries what. And there's so many beautiful stories to really establish this fact, that how so many examples of how Krishna has carried. In the case of Prabhupada himself, that comes to my mind. Old man going to America at that age, practically having no money. Krishna slowly supplied everything, and in matter of from 1966 to 1977, 11 years, Krishna supplied him so much that he could preach Krishna consciousness all over the world. And that's where Prabhupada came to Nairobi in Kenya, right? I know there's a beautiful temple that Prabhupada established in Nairobi. So many of my friends are from Nairobi. I meet them in London, and Prabhupada established that, and so many people, so many Indian community helped him to establish places in Kenya, Nairobi, other places, Tanzania, and then also in other places in the world. Krishna provided everything to Prabhupada. Why? Because Prabhupada was completely surrendered to Krishna. So this is a very important lesson that we learn from this beautiful story of Sudama and Krishna. That Sudama was attached and happy to be living to whatever he had, and Krishna was attached to providing Sudama of whatever he needed. So if the combination is so beautiful, the devotee is happy with whatever he has, he doesn't ask anything from the Lord. The Lord is happy to provide everything to the devotee to maintain his self-esteem. So this is a transcendental competition going on. The devotee will never ask anything from the Lord, and the Lord is always wanting to please the devotee and give him something. And that is what the life that Krishna is trying to teach us in the Bhagavad Gita, and not a pretentious life. A pretentious life is, that means there's never an end to what your needs are. The needs are ever increasing. So my dear friends, we would keep around 10 minutes for question and answers if you have any. But this beautiful two verses are guiding principles in our lives. Please, that's the reason I took these two verses. The first verse is something that we should not be, and second verse is something that we should be. We should not be a pretender practitioner of religiosity or spiritualism. We should be a genuine practitioner of spirituality to whatever you are. If you're a housewife, you can be a wonderful housewife devotee. If you are a professional, you can be a wonderful professional devotee. If you are a brahmachari, you can be a wonderful brahmachari devotee. If you're a grihastha like me, a businessman, you can be a wonderful businessman devotee. Krishna says you don't have to give up anything, but just connect it to Krishna, just Krishnaize it. That is what Krishna is teaching us. So thank you very much. I was happy to share whatever little understanding I had on this verse. And at this point in time, if there are any questions, Kirtika Mataji, if there's any questions, I would be happy to answer.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji, there are lots of questions. I'll take the questions on the chat first, and then on my private chat. First question is, did Sudama know that Krishna, that was his friend, was God?
Very interesting question. Yeah. So, sometimes Sudama knew Krishna was God, but there is something what is called the Yoga Maya potency of Krishna. There's two potencies, Mahamaya and Yoga Maya. Mahamaya is the potency which covers up the materialist, so they don't know what reality is. They forget Krishna. That's Mahamaya. The Yogamaya potency is that potency which covers devotees. So even the devotee knows that he is Krishna, but it covers up. So because if Nanda and Yashoda realize that Krishna is God, can they be parents? Can they beat Krishna? Can they tie Krishna the way Yashoda might tie? Can you tie God? But then Krishna will not experience any parent relationship, because nobody can really be his parent if they see him as God. So what happens? Krishna does, he covers all the devotees with what he called the yoga maya potency, where the friend of Krishna sees Krishna only as a friend, a lover of Krishna will see Krishna only as a lover, a parent of Krishna will only see Krishna as his child. So that is the yoga. So it covers up. So Sudama was so intimately connected to Krishna, and of course he had full knowledge, but it was very nice. It's like a thin veil which covers up, and this is the positive, because this energy covers up devotees, because Krishna has to exchange a relationship with devotees, and for them they can't see Krishna as God. Otherwise, where is the exchange possible, right? So, for example, if there's a big boss of a company, CEO, in his office, he's wearing a suit and a tie and a coat and everything. When he comes home, his grandchild will jump on his back and ride on him. Okay, Dadaji, come on, move. Because the grandchild doesn't care whether he's a CEO or not. He's my grandfather. And even the grandfather will not behave like one. When he comes home, he changes and he's ready to be ordinary, right? Similarly, Krishna wants to exchange relationship love, so he covers up the devotee. So yes, the answer to your question is yes and no. Sudama knew he was God, but he was covered up by the Yogamaya potency. So in one sense, he didn't know he was God. He was dealing with him as a friend. Is it clear?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for the excellent answer. Prabhuji, the next question is from Saurabh Suman. I'll read it out, and if we can't understand it, he's here. Prabhuji is asking, in today's materialistic life, when everyone is competing in their own way to excel, can you please suggest the way to be contented?
Yeah. So I think that is a very interesting verse or interesting question. So yes, it is a very competitive world. It is a dog eat dog world. Everybody is just competing, and if it is the fittest who will survive in this day and age. Yes, no doubt. So the Gita is a powerful way. If you apply the knowledge of Gita, you can really, you can really live your life completely. So what Krishna says, that you have the right to perform your duty, but you don't have the right over the results. So if you want to, if you just, before you begin your performing your duty, if you're contented, then how will you really have the passion to perform your duty? Are you getting it? And if you're contented, then how will you have the passion to get more? For example, if you are assistant vice president and you're contented, you don't want to grow to the being a vice president, then you don't have the passion to work and really grow, right? So what Krishna says is very interesting. You work in such a way as if you are attached to the result, but once you have completed your duty, then you let the results be in God's hands. You understood it? We work as if you are attached. That means you want to really be the best in what you are doing. That means if you're a businessman, you need to be the best businessman. You need to really work hard. You need to develop the right character and competency to really be the perfect businessman. And you do your duty as a businessman. You complete your duty as a businessman perfectly. But once you have did your duty, then let the result be in Krishna's hand. Then you are detached. That's what we mean by contentment. Are you getting my point? So the differences. If you just become contented from beginning, then you will lose your passion to performing your duties, because where's the passion? Like what happened to Arjun? He just became so contented that I don't want any kingdom. If I see all my grandfather in front of me, I don't want to fight. Let the kingdom go away to me. To them, I'll go to the forest and become a mendicant. This is what you're talking. You are a Kshatriya, you're supposed to have kingdom, you're supposed to rule, you're supposed to fight. But how will you fight with Krishna in the center? Very interesting. That's what I follow, and that's what I've seen. It is very, very powerful. You work, if you're a businessman, you have to be the top businessman. Yes, you need to follow ethics. You need to follow principles. We cannot be unethical business. You cannot be giving up your ethics. You need to be ethical, but you need to have the passion to be the best. But after you have done your duty, after you really work, for example, you really wanted to earn, you are really applying for a tender. Suppose you are trying to really win a tender. You need to really work hard to make sure that you are having the best proposal that you're putting for the tender. But once you have put the tender, then leave it to Krishna. And that's what contentment is all about. That Krishna, I have done my work now. I've done the best I can. For students, for example. If you are contented, as well, whatever Krishna gives, if I get 50% marks, I'm fine. If I get 90%, I'm fine. Then how will you get the passion to study? Doesn't make sense. So how should a student study? So no, I want to be the top of the class. I want to be in the merit. I want to be in the top. And you work hard, very, very hard, whatever it takes to be on the top. But once you appear for your exams with that hard work, then you say, well, I've done my hard work now. The result is in Krishna's hands. So you may get to the top, you may be the second, you may be the third, or you may be the 10th. But still in your heart, you are satisfied because you worked hard. That's what contentment is. So the contentment aspect should be brought into picture after you have worked hard with passion. But many times a practitioner, devotee, devotional practitioner brings the contentment before, and that is why he loses the passion to do work. And that's why he becomes a failure in the world. Are you getting what I'm saying? Whoever has asked this question, right? So contentment is required, but we cannot bring the contentment at the wrong time. You work hard, you do your duties properly, passionately. Prabhupada said that Rupa Goswami actually says that a devotee is a person who does everything that he does perfectly. If he's a lawyer, he's the best lawyer. If he's a teacher, he's the best teacher. And you can't be the best unless until you work hard. And you can't work hard if you're contented. You need to have the passion. But the contentment part comes when you are giving the results to Krishna in Krishna's hands. I think that's my reply to the question.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you very much, Saurabh, Prabhuji. I hope you are satisfied. We have two more questions.
Can I butt on the same question, Kritika?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Prabhu, I joined a little late. Honestly, I'm so sorry. I didn't even hear the introduction properly. I don't even have the name properly. However, just for the sake of argument, Prabhu, if I get very content, like you rightly said, doing business, being on the top, Saurabh is a marketing manager, you're on the top, then don't we get addicted because we are on the top? And the Bhagavad Gita actually teaches us knowledge and detachment. So how does that filter into this of being very content and being a successful, whatever we are doing?
No, if the moment we achieve something, we understand that whatever we have achieved is not only by our hard work, but what we have achieved is also by Krishna's mercy. There are always two factors, two fingers, like our hard work and Krishna's mercy. So we can say that we cannot take complete credit of being what we are 100%. So we have to pass it on to where it really belongs. And Krishna says, "I am the ability in man. I am the strength of strong." If whatever ability you have is Vedasa Sarvam Aham Vedyo Vedanta Vidya Chaham, right? He is the author of the Vedas, and through the Vedas am I supposed to be known. I mean ability in man. So Krishna says whatever ability we have, whether it is the ability of marketing in the example that you just quoted, we must all know that ultimately the ability is coming from Krishna. Krishna is giving us that ability. Unless and he gives us the ability, we cannot really do anything. So if we recognize the fact that it's coming from Krishna, and we really achieve something because of our hard work, we realize that yes, I put in my hard work, but ultimately the ability to perform the hard work has come from Krishna, and you really offer the fruits to Krishna. And that's exactly what I say, offering the fruits to Krishna. Karmane vadikara se ma phale sukadachana. Ma kalma phal hai turbu mate sangostu karmani. You offer the fruits to Krishna. So that's why you work hard. You're on the top. You can't be addicted to the top, because when can you be addicted? You can be addicted when you think it belongs to you. But these are all what we call in English borrowed plumes. You can't be attached to borrowed plumes. This borrowed plumes basically we just hire it. It doesn't belong to us. We have hired. If you hire something, it doesn't belong to you. So similarly, the ability that we have is hired by Krishna. Krishna has given it to us, right? So if somebody has given it to us, it doesn't belong to us, right? It will be like a thief if we say, well, it belongs to me. No, it doesn't belong to you. It is given by Krishna, and because it belongs to Krishna, I offer the fruits to Krishna and say, Krishna, thank you very much. Whatever I am is all because of your mercy. And when you are recognizing Krishna's contribution in your life, where's the question of being addicted to it? Can't be addicted. Make sense?
Okay. So in other words, you did mention, and which is karma yoga, that you're offering your fruits to Krishna. Yes,
Yes.
like then you are detached. Otherwise, personally, I feel the more we get successful, the more we get addicted and more we forget.
If there is no Krishna factor, then there is no question of being, then obviously we'll be intoxicated by pride for sure.
Thank you, Prabhu.
I can just take one more question because I think I need to leave for something else at my home.
Okay, Prabhu, there are two questions, but we'll take the one that on the chat. Hare Krishna, a Greek philosopher called Senens said, I see and approve better things. So as we try Krishna consciousness and along the path stumble, fall down, one be called a pretender. So where is the mercy, tolerance? Question mark. This question is from Ravi Prabhuji, Ravi Nathwani Prabhuji. If you can ask your question if I haven't been clear.
No, so what I can understand from this question is that if you are falling down, then are we a pretender? Is that what he's trying to indicate? I mean, I'm not clear with the question.
Yes, what I mean is that, in a sense, we are all pretenders because we are all, at some degree or another, not necessarily able to, for the high standards, which of course Krishna consciousness has stated, but surely in that weakness, should you just be called a pretender and be discarded? Or
No, that's what I'm saying. So there's something, a pretender is a person who will not recognize his inability to achieve something that is not able to achieve. I mean, his inability to achieve things or inability to do things. But if you are genuinely feeling that, where's Krishna, please help me, I'm not able to do it on my own, and you still fall down, that's not pretense. You are trying your level best. But you get up and again you try. You get up and again you try. You get up and again you try. But the ability of walking is there in the child. But when the child is falling down, you can say, oh, he's pretending to walk. No, he's not pretending to walk. He still doesn't have the ability to walk and hold himself completely. So he has to keep on trying. But while he's trying, you cannot say it is pretense. It is just basically he's making his muscles, his spiritual muscles stronger. Right now they are weak. The reason you fall down is because your spiritual muscles are strong, and that's why you need exercise. And that's why exercise is by chanting Hare Krishna, by associating with devotees, by hearing Krishna Katha, you get the strength to really follow the principles. And then your spiritual muscles get strong and you have ability to really follow whatever you need to follow. Yeah. So I would definitely say that it is not that a person who is falling is we can be putting him in the category of pretender. It is not a pretender. He is a sadhaka. A sadhaka is a person, is like a student, right? A student, sometimes he does well in the exams, sometimes he doesn't do well in the exams. But a teacher, if he writes the exams paper, a teacher is going to get 100 out of 100 because teacher is a teacher. But a student, he's not a teacher. Is trying to be a good student, and then say sometimes be doing well, sometimes be doing not well. But you cannot say that, well, he's not doing well or he's pretending to be a student, after. No, if he's genuinely saying that, yes, I tried my best, but I need to work more hard, then he's not pretending, he's being very honest. Make sense?
so we need to be a bit careful to call people pretenders.
No, no, very careful. I mean, when we're talking about pretenders, I think we're talking about only ourselves. We have no right to call others. We have to be very careful. We are not here to judge people. We are judging ourselves.
Thank you. You
Don't get
said the final
don't
word.
get
Thank you.
yeah, don't get into habit of judging others through these discussions. It is more. It is because it is more for ourselves first, and then we talk about others.
Okay, Prabhu.
The problem is
Yes,
every time we
that's
hear all these
excellent.
things,
That's excellent.
every time we hear all these things, we all try to apply to everybody else, but we forget ourselves, and that's where we are just cheating ourselves. So anyway, Mataji, thank you very, very much. It has been a wonderful to really be with all of you. So nice to spend time with all of you, and hopefully we meet again whenever Krishna arranges. But so nice that you all give me the opportunity to serve. Thank you very, very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Just 1
Hare
minute.
Krishna.
I forgot to mention in the beginning that I'm taping this and it is on YouTube Live. I hope you don't mind it, because we were already 32 people, and if more people joined after 50, they would be blocked out. So I have put it on YouTube. So a recording will be there on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. I'll just 1 more minute, Path Prabhuji. I hand over to you. Just 1 minute in glorifying and chanting.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Very nice and realization, and very nice verses also explanation about how we supposed to be not supposed to be pretended in, especially in Krishna consciousness also. Okay, this world is like that, but we supposed to learn how we supposed to not to be pretend. If you are chanting 2 rounds, we supposed to tell 2 rounds. If I'm not reading, I can tell you also I'm not reading, but I tried. This is the things, and Krishna told Arjuna, and you supposed to tell this one. It's a very nice thing, and it is helpful to progress our Krishna consciousness and spiritual progress. Thank you, Prabhuji, very much. In spite of our busy schedule, but you still giving us time. On behalf of ISKCON Eldoret and all of the joining here in Zoom class, we thanks to you and we glorify Prabhuji for Prabhuji's glorification. As Prabhuji's name is S.N. Dalal. What is the spiritual name, Prabhu?
Sridhamadas.